Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and obviously Wednesdays are more educational slash tips slash random videos, but what I want to talk about today is reviewing your trades, right? So obviously, I review my day trading every single day, the setups I put the predictions off, and I review them and what's happened, right? And I do that obviously not just in the video, I review that a lot of times during the day when I'm at home, just because I'm quite interested to see how some of them have played out and if I could have been involved or have missed out. But obviously, I do the official, you can say, review quickly on YouTube. Now, there's a few things that obviously you can look for, and it's more of a, how do I do my review? What do I look for? What can you look for in the future? And as we know, sort of by the reviews, we go and improve longer term, right? We evolve as traders, we get better at, say, target taking, stop placement, entries, more aggression, less aggression, right? In certain scenarios. So all of these things you develop from your reviews as well. So I'm going to take a look at, let's say, Aussie dollar, for example, and the way I approach it is, if I'm predicting a certain move, right, then I'll look into that and see if it played out or not, and if it did or it didn't. Now, also, what I'll do is, let's say we pick out a move which has just happened, which you think it's realistic that you can get involved per your style, right? So I'll take this little downtrend for me on the Aussie dollar. So I took a buy here, right here, somewhere there, and then obviously that lost and it got violated and cool. But what we did afterwards, right, even though after this double top, what we've got is a 3-point move, and then here we've got this pullback carrying back. So for me, I'm curious to see, look, realistically, if I was aggressive because of this strength here in this move, right, I can actually get involved at this level, right? Let's see if that's something, obviously we're doing it in hindsight because that's all we can base it off. And we see that, targets came all the way down to retest this support level, which is fine, right? Realistic targets as well at this support level. So what can we see? Can we enter in this little phase here? So we'll go on to 15. Let's see if there's anything there. And for me, per my style, I wouldn't see anything here, right? It's just a bunch of, you've got a strong candle, a small pullback, and then a few dojis, and then a big lower low, lower close. I say big, relative to these candles at least. So for me, that's not really, as in, yes, a realistic entry. So let's say you're looking for lower low, lower close, and you could have set up at best something like this, and ignore how many pips there are. It doesn't matter because we're looking at the actual concept and the setup in itself. And you could have had ATR stops above here, and obviously winner, right? 2020 in hindsight, you never lose, right? You're not going to look and try and how to catch losers. You're not going to try and do that. Another thing, we don't have RSI overbought, sorry. So maybe that's a filter. Again, if you had stops here, targets here, for whatever reason, it wouldn't work. However, again, hindsight, why did price come up to this level? Well, I don't really see a particular reason. So you don't want to overforce it. At the end of the day, you want to be realistic, right? Look, okay, I can see you making the case of ignoring this level, right? I can see you, let's say, only looking at the major levels of structure like this, right? This level. But for you to ignore this one and pay attention to these, I think that's almost, like, you could say hypocritical, I don't know. But, I don't see that as realistic. So, on the 5-minute, was there a potential entry here, right? Well, what do we have, right? So we've got a actual double top here. So you've got a double top on the 5-minute, right? It's been overbought just, and then we closed above. I think high is 338. Yeah, we just closed above afterwards. But if you are someone taking this double top, then you would have been involved in here, right? You could have had safe stops. I'm just going to delete this. You could have had safe stops above that double top, as it is a top, right? And you would have, let's say what, 2 pips is your ATR. So I would go above here, 4 pips above this little zone here, just because it's a level structure. And you could have even played for a retest as target 1, right? You could have played for an extension, target 2, you got 6-1 risk reward, and even the most aggressive, you got 8-1. And we're looking at these setups like, okay, look, they just hit straight, bang on targets, cool. And the whole point of this is, if I see this happening over and over again, right now, me doing this, it's in my mind. Now, realistically, if I was to write this on paper, if I was to screenshot it, if I was to, you know, actually look at it again, but more importantly, it's the whole writing down process and whatnot. It'll stick in my head a little bit better, and I guess you have it, you can say, in your history, right? So you could, if you was to write it down on paper or put in a spreadsheet and you're looking at it, you know, you've got that physical data. For me, it's not as realistic personally to actually look over it. It's just not someone there's too many things to look over. Let's say I've got hundreds of trades screenshotted and look over them, you know, in case I'm looking for something. By the time I get to like the 30th one, I've just forgotten what the first or second one looked like. So in terms of that, you know, I'm not too keen on. For me, it's a bit of a waste of time, but it's more of a, you know, it sticks it in your subconscious more. But like, look, I've spoken over this now. Alright, so you think it's not in my head? Well, of course it is. Right now it's in my head for the next, let's say, day, week, month. Yeah, and even if I don't remember this exact setup in a year and I see something very similar, something in my brain would twitch. I'll be like, oh, actually, this could happen, right? This has happened before. So that's another thing. Now I want to give you a live example, and you'll see the review today. I'll mention the same thing pretty much. But New Zealand dollar, remember I took a trade live today, and realistic, I took targets off here, right? And yeah, I did hit the targets. Nice, right? Cool, whatever. Doesn't matter. But you know, the fact is, on the daily, you're on a bullish bias, right? On the 4-hour bullish bias, obviously we're at the outside return, and yes, is deep pullback, so a head and shoulders is possible up to these levels. But you know, in hindsight, I'm looking at it and I haven't actually put the screenshot of what's happened after. I'm just waiting for a few more candles to play out. Just because I'm in no rush. I've logged the trade already, but I'm very curious. Look, if this goes up to here, right, full on retest, which off the daily would be quite realistic, right? Could I have had my target 2 extended all the way up here, right? So we look at this, right? We're getting a 8-to-1 risk reward around that, right? So it's ridiculous risk rewards, and you know, how many of these do you actually need to hit per, you know, not even month, per year, right, to actually have a very nice year? So yeah, okay, this might come up to this level, break even, this level, break even, but eventually, you know, let's say, you know, out of 100 trades that you do this with, maybe, I don't know, 10 of them hit and you would have made up for it. But it really depends on your philosophy. For me, I just don't feel comfortable with that target level, so that's why I had it around here. Now, again, it's just another example of how to review and what I'm looking for in my review, right? Now I'm also looking at, you know, is there any reason, let's say 5 minute, right? The 5 minute, I exited on this candle, as in I did a manual exit. This was just, it just hit targets, right? Could I have done something where, you know, maybe I trailed my stop earlier, right? I trailed my stop only when we got to this location around here, somewhere there, right? That's when I was allowed to trail my stop. However, could I have done it maybe when we put in, where is it? Okay. When we put in this candle here, right, we've created a new high. Can I have moved stops to this level? Can I have moved stops to this level here and kept them here until I got stopped out, right? Maybe for target 2, and you know, realistically I might have been stopped out, or depending on how low before that I do it, right? Another thing you want to consider is maybe you can try something very fancy, and what I mean by that is this, right? Let's say, so you've got your target at this line here. You got the green line, that's my target. And what if I do something like this? So I take target 1 off here, and target 2, I'll put in, let's say, 5 pips, maybe, or like, you know, set amount of pips above here, or like below my target. So in this case 5 pips would be a fair amount, but you know, like 2 pips for example below this on the 5 minute time frame. And as price pushes up, right, you could do, you know, obviously you run the risk of it stopping you out for 2 pips less, right? But let's say this candle, you're watching this candle live, right, the prior one, so I'll just reduce it one more time. If you're watching this one candle live and you see it pushed up all the way here, maybe you have a set amount, let's say 2 pips extra, which allows you to actually move your this trail up to at least your target 1. So technically, you know, you're not actually killing off your position size. And what if this carries on higher, right? What if this puts in a new candle and doesn't look back, right? If we carry on this strong momentum. Now, most of the time, I predict, alright, I predict that it would actually get stopped for break even. But the odd time out, you're going to be in a case where actually you just locked in however much profit, and you can trail this little aggressively, like I trail on the FTB basically, behind every candle. So you know, there's so many ways to play around it, and it's something you can look into, and it's just all these little things. In 2020, right, in this case it wouldn't have worked, right? In this case, on the next candle you would have been stopped out if you was to do that. However, it's just the principle and concept behind it that I feel like it's important. It's that experimental phase, which I'm not asking you to experiment or telling you to experiment in your live trading, but this, all of these little things and little ideas you have in your mind from you know, from this review. So now obviously what we doing, right? Well, obviously we're rejecting at this level of resistance, and if we push back down, I'll be actually quite happy because I almost caught the whole move. So rather than wasting money and leaving money on the table, shooting for targets up here. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. As always, like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you think. And what do you look for in reviews? Do you look for entries? Do you look for stops in like improvements, or just the random patterns? And eventually, you know, as you go away from the style you trade, you might all of a sudden start looking at, you know, say I'm looking at flags now, right? And then I start looking at maybe pennants or wedges or whatever, or something like this, right? And I slowly evolve because I keep on noticing them or something like that. So yeah, like I said, hope you enjoyed, and in a bit.